research for this interview. It goes this way. A generation that can mobilize online in hours is not apathetic. It's just unconvinced. And Sifuna mentioned that you'll have a team of experts who will sit down and ponder on the economic path, policies, and future of this country. And in the end, they will come up with a blueprint that he needs to share with the country. That sounds noble, but we need to remind him that as young people and as the majority in this country, we have been on the sidelines for a very long time. I think this is a golden opportunity for Sifuna to form a caucus of the young people who would share their inputs in the new blueprint, in his manifesto, in his economic agenda. And we also need to sign a youth charter. The idea of a contractual ballot with Sifuna, if he is designated as the flag bearer of the United Opposition. And we will hold him accountable with that youth charter. And we will ensure that we win as the young people of Kenya, because our votes must matter for something. We will push a conversation on ending unemployment. We will push a conversation on manufacturing and industrialization. We will push a conversation on free education. We will push a conversation on universal health care. And of course, we will push a conversation on getting capital and accessing capital in this country. Because that has been our biggest impediment to economic growth as a citizenry. And I hope and believe we'll get to that bridge. And in his general spirit of consultation, I hope he will feature in the young people who've been instrumental in pushing him to the national limelight. And it's befitting because the young people have, in a way, given him a political lifeline. Because in our conversations, we challenged campaign financing. And that has propelled him, because you remember the conversation about how Sifuna does not have money to campaign and why, or how you need 7 billion shillings to campaign.
Yes.
And we came in his defense and said, you actually don't need that money. And we will support you with our few coins. And we've been fundraising to his pay bill. And we have challenged the conversation and the narrative countrywide. And for the first time, I think leaders are considering fundraising from the people to vie for elective office. And we are pushing the conversation to Kenyans that it's actually okay to not have funds. It's actually okay to not have billions to campaign.
Because that's not what it's about.
Yeah,
essentially, is what we are saying.
Yes, because that is not a metric for good leadership.
Okay.
And when you don't question the source of these campaign funds, and when you are busy dining with that particular candidate, and you forget to oversight them, if thinking that oversight and accountability starts when you elect them, that's how you start losing power.
All right, but it's interesting, James, because if we understand what the problem is, sometimes, the hand of the axe is usually mostly wooden, and it is used to chop down the entire forest. So having one of your own, in a manner of speaking, is not necessarily an assurance that you'll be taken care of. And I could reference the 2022 campaigns. The outgoing president, William Ruto, made a constituency of the hustlers.
Yeah.
So it was about the haves and the have-nots. And the have-nots failed because he portrayed himself as a have-not, as having come from a humble background, as having worn the shoe and knew how and where it was hurting most. So people believed, and actually he came up with a manifesto, the plan, not the 2060 plan, not the Vision 2030. He had the plan for 5 years moving forward that was meant to transform this country economically and address all the issues you are clearly mentioning: unemployment, rule of law, even do away with the tribal kingpinship and all those things. But he has not, clearly. Now, we have another opportunity we are scampering and looking as a country for a person who we are going to employ, because I subscribe to the thought of these are our employees. The president is my employee. I pay him as a Kenyan with our taxes. So we'll be hiring and firing on 10th of August. If we truly understand that one of the things we must work on is the economic status of this country, because if, regardless of how good our constitution is, if we mismanage our tax, if the tax injustice continues, we are just going to remain with a good constitution, but the pain points for Kenyans are just going to increase. Now here we are presented with a situation to do better, to change, to have the paradigm shift, to be deliberate, to not just be involved but also be committed to the cause and build this great nation and birth a country that we all can enjoy. Why do we need to force someone, in my opinion, like Sifuna to be a certain way to be a president? Why can we not look for somebody, in my opinion, who understands the economic matters, who knows exactly and has a blueprint today on how they would address the issues if they were sworn into office tomorrow? Because in a record 53 weeks, we are going to have a new president. Why do we have to force? Can't we just look around and agree? Personalities are not what we need. It is exact qualifications, the competencies that a person holds, whether you are young, youthful, or old. So long as you can do the job, we hire you to do the exact job you want. We don't need to hire somebody that we like. We need somebody who is competent enough to take care of everybody according to the rule of law.
I have been quite pragmatic with this Sifuna wave, given that I have not attended any of his rallies. I follow them online. I think it just caught me by surprise that Kenyans wanted Sifuna as president. And perhaps they cited his clean record. He has no corruption scandals. He is a respecter to the right of life and to the constitution. And he has voiced